Good evening and welcome to Wisdom Walk Talk here on Black Hole Radio. And I am your host and guide, Jujapa Maria and Saroma, fresh back from my July hiatus, although I did take one more Sunday off at the beginning of this month. But I am back now and very, very glad to continue my work of helping you navigate through the 2020 transit. And 2020, it is a year of drastic, radical, and mind-blowing, yet auspicious change. And August is the last nature month, and elemental wisdom tells us that it brings the energy for intentional adaptation because there is no going back to pre-COVID normal. As one cosmic door has closed, a new one has opened, and the message to humanity is all of us collaborating, sharing, and living on purpose. So through 4 broadcasts and accompanying videos, I'm going to provide spiritual intelligence and practical wisdom to support intentional adaptation from what has been to what can now be. Yes. Tonight, I'll kick that off by talking about us moving from the focus on only me to the focus on all of us. But first, just a reminder that when I'm broadcasting live, like I am now, you can listen through your phone if you don't want to listen through the computer, and that number is 563-999-3089. Again, that's 563-999-3089. I will upload a video of this broadcast on Tuesday to my YouTube channel, which is Wisdom Walk to Self-Mastery. Also, you can ask questions or share comments on my Facebook page, which is Wisdom Walk Radio. You can also do it on my website, which is www.wisdomwalktoselfmastery.com, or in the comment sections below this video. But right now, I asked you to sit or lie back and join me for the exploration of the inner landscape, where we can connect to the soul and discover the true treasure of being human. Wow, sometimes we're living in. I can't believe that we're really already in August. It seems like the summer months aren't summer months. I don't know. It's just really, really a crazy time because everything has been so turned around, so turned upside down. So it's just, not business as usual. That's all I have to say. But as usual, I do want to open up my show, as I always do. It's taking a moment to pause and to invoke the ancestors. And this month, I am going to be asking us to stop and pause and to invoke the ancestors of the people who have died from COVID-19 here in the United States and, of course, around the world. A pandemic is nothing to play with, and it's so devastating to so many people. But because so many deaths are happening and so fast, that I think it's hard for us to really believe that it is happening at the magnitude it is. So I think it's important that we just take a moment and invoke those ancestors by remembering our ancestors. And also, of course, sending out prayers that this pandemic can be controlled and that people can stop dying from it at the rate that it is happening. So join me, if you will, thinking about your ancestors, or you may be among the many, many people who has lost someone in a family or someone you know to COVID-19. And I'm going to invoke a prayer and ask for the help that we need to continue to navigate through this unprecedented experience. Creator, Mother, Father, God, Source, all the one, all that is, we thank you. We thank you. We thank you for your blessing and your mercy in our lives, and for yet another opportunity to reach out to you, to call out to you for the help that we need here on the earth plane at this time. And so we're calling out to the ancestors, first to our ancestors, the people that we know and love, people that also may have been black sheep in our family, but who definitely can be guides to us about how not to go down the low road. But also we're reaching out to all the people who have died from COVID-19. And although we may not have had a direct experience of someone we know dying from that, because it is affecting so many people around the world, we can extend our sympathy, we can extend our consideration out to the world. And so we're doing that now by saying, ancestors, 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 we're calling on you because we need your help, your guidance, your wisdom, and your love. We are in such a difficult time, such a challenging time, and we really don't know, even though we try to believe that we do. So help us be open to learning. Help us be open to learning what we need to do to get hold of this situation, to get hold of this health crisis, and to turn it around. So give us the guidance, the wisdom, the patience, the courage, the fortitude, the intelligence, and most importantly, the emotional intelligence to make it through. And so again, Creator, I ask and thank you for the presence of the ancestors and for the ability to call upon them in the name of all that is holy. I say amen, Asher Ho'asa, Shinga Bismillah, and so it is. Okay. I'm going to give you some of the elemental wisdom for the week and some of the astrological aspects that are going on. These are ways that we can just stay more conscious about ourselves, contributes to our ability to self-master, so that we don't fall victim to circumstances in our lives, so that we remember that we have choice. And so the elemental energies come from the Dagro medicine wheel, which I wisdom keep, and they live off of a system of the numbers from 1 to 5, and including 0. And so for us, no, really it's 1 to 5. It's not including 0. Excuse me. That's a Western thing. But they're 1 to 5. And so those numbers can be applied to our calendar. And so the elemental week is about what day of the week did January 1st fall. And that day of the week informs me of what is the elemental wisdom for that week based on what the number is on that day. So this year in 2020, January 1st fell on a Wednesday. So we are currently in an Earth week, because that was August the 5th through the 11th. And so this Wednesday, August 12th, we're moving into a fire week. And here's the opportunity. It's about being truthful to yourself and others. It's about calling upon those ancestors, as I just did, to bring you clarity when you feel confused or conflicted. It is about walking your talk, living in a self-referred consciousness, meaning you trust your intuition and honest feelings more than the opinions, advice, or judgments of others. It's about allowing your inner, authentic self to be in charge of your life versus the image of yourself that you project out to the world. As Mr. Rogers said, people can love you exactly the way you are. So love yourself. Now, with every opportunity comes a distraction. And so here are a few distractions you want to just be a little more conscious of this week. The first one is, how much are you maintaining the status quo? How much are you going along with, what is popular, what seems to be a fad, what seems to be maybe even the important thing to do so that you can stay with the in crowd? Take a look at that. because that can definitely distract you from being truthful to yourself. Also, are you abandoning your true self in order to please others and avoid a conflict? Yeah, that's a tricky one, especially in work situations. Lying to yourself and others. Check it. Check it. Sacrificing your needs in order to belong or be included, or even to maintain a relationship that has gone south. And last but not least, that fear of not being liked, loved, or accepted. How is that working for you this week? How much are you allowing that fear to rule your decision making, to rule your belief about yourself? Check it. Check it this week, definitely. Now, next Wednesday, the 19th of August, we'll go into a mineral week, and that'll be a time for soul connection. And of course, I'll tell you all about that in the next broadcast and video. Another reminder, August the 22nd will be Earth Day. I've declared that every month on the 22nd, we need to honor the earth. Take a moment to do that. Again, I hope you're cutting down on your use of plastic and paper, and to stay very mindful of the fossil fuel that you're putting into your car, especially if it's not an essential use of your car. You know, you can make a commitment to how many times a week that you actually want to use your car, need to use your car. Also, just a reminder to check out the Earth Day website, www.earthday.org, and go to the section that says Today's Action, and they will give you some more information about what is going on, what's being organized, and good ideas for what you can do to contribute to keeping our planet healthy and safe for the next 7 generations after us. Yeah. Now, moving into the astrological aspects, you know, this year has definitely been a year of paying attention to the astrological aspects. I mean, they've been really helping me and other people I know be able to navigate through this stuff without being too blindsided. In other words, it's like, okay, we know something's coming. We know you don't know exactly what it is, but at least you have an anticipation of it. And I just watched a video by a woman who did a forecast in December about 2020, and she just like totally nailed about the shift of that has been brought by COVID-19 and also by the death of George Floyd. So the astrology, these planets that are around us, that are in our cosmic neighborhood, can be very helpful in, again, just helping us stay very mindful so that we don't fall victim to circumstance or get blindsided. So there are 2 aspects this week that I want you to be conscious of. The first one is on August 13th, and it is Mars and Pluto aligning in the sign of Capricorn. Now, this is going to happen 2 more times this year. 2 more times. It's going to happen in October on the 9th, and then again in December on the 20th. So here's what it means on a collective level. When Mars squares Pluto, and a square is a forecast of tension, okay? It can cause already heated situations to escalate and can bring a sense of restlessness and unease that has the potential to turn hostile. Yeah. So, I mean, commonsensically, we know things are heating up because you've got this big conflict going on in the world, and just on a political level here in the United States, it's a lot of tension, Now, on a personal level, it says that this square of Mars and Pluto can bring a rise of tension, power struggles, and the desire to make impulsive changes in our lives. And so the question is, who or what are you blaming for not being where you want to be in your life? Because you really need to let that go. And you need to know that you are the only person responsible. And if you haven't seen Eddie Murphy's Dolomite on Netflix, you need to watch it. Check it out. It's a great story based on a true story of a man who really gets it, that he is totally in charge of how he wants to be and live his life. Yeah. So the 13th, tension. So lay low, be very mindful not to put yourself into situations that can cause conflict. Avoid it. You don't need to be in it. That's a choice. But just know that it's going to be up. The tensions are going to be up. Now, the next aspect happens 2 days later, and that is the planet Uranus on August 15th going retrograde. And the astrologer I'm using for this, her name is Tanaz. Her website is Forever Conscious. I'll leave it in the comments below. She says that Uranus, the planet of awakening, change, and liberation, enters the underworld and goes retrograde until January 2021. Now, Uranus will go retrograde in the sign of Taurus, she says, which means that we may feel a push-pull between embracing the new and letting go of the old. Imagine that. Exactly. That's what we're going through right now. Yeah. Yeah. She says Uranus will guide us to address the things that are crumbling in our lives, either by helping us to let go or by helping us gain a new perspective so we can strengthen them. So that's really, really cool. She says one of the freedoms that Uranus offers us, especially when it's retrograde, is to look past the physical constraints and to view life in another way. I call this fifth dimensional consciousness. Yeah, yeah. Uranus knows there is a higher truth, and when you can tune in and access that higher truth for ourselves and connect with the liberation that Uranus brings, we are definitely able to move forward. Yeah. Yeah. So again, just good guidance to remember that you are responsible for your life as an adult. You get to make decisions. You get to respond to things from a place of fear or a place of love. And then with the Uranus energy, it's a time to really know that you can go beyond just your physical understanding of how the universe works and step into a more spiritual understanding of how the universe works. Yeah. All right. Now, let's move into intentional adaptation. Here's my overview for what I'm going to talk about tonight. I'm going to give you a definition of intentional adaptation in terms of what I mean by it. Then we're going to talk about why we must move from only me to all of us. Then I'm going to talk about 3 huge barriers to all of us, and then give you some contemplative questions. My quote for tonight, and all my quotes in August, are going to come from the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. And this one is one of my favorite. It's Doctor Strange. And this quote is said by the Ancient One. And it comes at the end of the movie, and it's one of the most powerful scenes. I'll also put a link to that clip so that you can actually see that in the video. And so, the Ancient One says this to Dr. Strange. She says, "Arrogance and fear still keep you from learning the simplest and most significant lesson of all. It's not about you." I love that. Love that. Okay, intentional adaptation. In March, when COVID shows up and it is clear that it is a pandemic, a global threat to our health, we really had to do some adaptation, and pretty quickly. And so we paused and we shut things down. Airplanes weren't flying or at least not flying as much. Trains weren't running as much. People weren't driving cars out here in LA. The infamous 405 was pretty much empty. Stores were closed. People had to stay home from school. Parents had to be around their children, for some people for the first time ever. It was really quite dramatic what happened. And so we adapted. We adapted to the fact that there was this perfect transmitted virus that doctors really didn't know a lot about. Doctors were still learning how to treat it, what to do. What did it do to people? We didn't know any of that. And so that to me was the initial adaptation, reaction, and response to COVID, to this 2020 transit year of great change. So now we've been about 6 months in to this experience, and we're at a point to be able to have to accept that it's not going to go away as quickly as was thought or anticipated. It looks like it's going to be around. So now we can do some intentional adaptation. And adaptation is that movement from something to something else. That's its origins from Latin, moving something to something else. It's also a form or structure modified to fit a changed environment. Yeah. And it's adjustments that consider long-term consequences. Okay? Long-term consequences. And that's the difference between just the quick reaction adaptation we did in March to the kind of adaptation we need to be doing now. It needs to have long-term consequences, because we need to be considering everybody. This is a pandemic. I can't say that enough. Across the globe, right? So it's requiring a really different response from us. Very important. So here's why we must move from only me to all of us. And again, this is my opinion. But to me, it's pretty much common sense. When COVID shows up, it's like God getting out a cosmic flashlight to illuminate where and how things are out of balance. Because from an indigenous perspective, from the indigenous wisdom I keep, something like this in any kind of disease, that is a message of imbalance. Things are out of balance, and it's a call to get things in balance, to get things right again. And so God comes with this cosmic flashlight to show how to do that, so that you can get to see more clearly, this is what's going on, this is this. And so, with COVID, and then I'll include the death of George Floyd also in this, something that really gets illuminated for us as a human species is that we really do suffer from the belief that people are disposable. Here in the United States, our inability to appropriately respond to the pandemic, a global health crisis. Again, it's not just about the United States. We're talking about all over the world, Our inability to respond to that appropriately, and you know what I mean, where people believe that they shouldn't have to wear a mask, or they shouldn't be told to wear a mask, or it doesn't really exist. It's not real. It's made up. So all of that kind of response to me is rooted in a belief about disposable people, that, those people will get it and they'll die, but I'm good. I'm over here. It's not going to get me. And of course, now people are learning that COVID doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care about your color. It doesn't care about your race. It doesn't care about how much money you have. It doesn't care how secluded your lifestyle is, it will come for you, because that's just the way it rolls. It's a perfect transmitter. As of today, there are 162,000 known deaths in the United States as a result of COVID. 162,000 people known about. And that's important, because there are people dying from this disease that it's not reported, because they're either dying in their home, or they're dying out in the alley, or out in a park someplace because they're homeless. We have to accept that there are more deaths happening than what is able to be reported. And in the United States today, as of today, there are 5.1 confirmed cases of this virus. And again, confirmed, but people who have it don't even know they have it. We don't even know how many people there are with that, because COVID does that. It can be, somebody can have it and spread it and they don't get any symptoms. Yeah. So, again, back to our inability to respond to this very, very serious, very tragic health crisis, to me is indicative of this belief going on in us that, it's okay for some people to die from this. Like, we don't have to really respond. The second piece of illumination that COVID does for us, especially in March, is that it's not the Wall Street bankers who are keeping us alive. It's the people working on farms, plucking chickens, driving trucks, stocking grocery shelves, being cashiers, and delivery sheroes and heroes. Yeah. These are the people not valued or considered successful by our social or educational systems. But they're the ones who have been keeping me alive. And other people, yeah. So, there has been some positive response to these two illuminations, but much more is needed. Much more is needed. Now, the three huge barriers to the all of us, and to even think all of us, okay, means that you have to be able to be considerate, right? You have to be able to consider others. That's what social solidarity is all about. It's that you understand that your existence is dependent upon somebody else doing their job. So just like you do your job, well, somebody else has got to do their job if you're going to be okay, if you're going to have water and food and clothing and shelter and electricity and all of that. So here's three huge barriers that disrupt our ability to really understand and believe that we're all in this together, okay? The first one is developmental disruption, and here's what I mean by that. According to the field of evolutionary dynamics, meaning how it is that we as human beings evolve consciously, okay, I'm not talking about in the physical, but how we do it consciously. As human beings, it's understood that we naturally grow from our level of consideration from being egocentric, which means only me. Then we move to ethnocentric, which is only my group. And then we get to world-centric, which is I can consider all of us and all living things on the planet. And then, right now, there's another level that we understand, and that is where I become cosmocentric. And this is all living things and existing things in our known universe. Yeah. Now, when your basic needs are not met in childhood, or you experience early trauma within your family of origin, within your environment, you will find it very challenging to consider others. Okay? Yeah. So that developmental disruption can happen. That's a real thing. The second barrier, historical fears being transferred. You have to be taught to do othering. And you will fear not belonging to your family or your group if you go against their beliefs. And we know they're historical, right? Historical disputes that go on. So where one group of people says, oh, those people, those are the bad people, they're this, they're that, oh, sounds like racism in America, doesn't it? Yeah. And around the world, it's this kind of thing. And so that when those historical fears are transferred over to children and they grow up with these beliefs, yeah, right away, it ain't about all of us. No. And then last but not least, and this is one that you wouldn't think, but it is really, really, really powerful. It's low self-esteem and it's lack of self-love. Low self-esteem and lack of self-love. If you're not self-actualized, if you're not able to love and accept yourself unconditionally, there's just no way you can do that with other people. No. Especially those who are different from you or unknown to you. Yeah. So, just being conscious of the fact that getting away from only me to all of us can be blocked in these ways should tell us that we got some work to do. Yeah. Individually and collectively, we got a little work to do. And so here's my contemplative exercises for you that will help to uncover maybe some unconscious ways that you have been blocked to really being able to consider all of us. Because until you can consider all of us and move yourself away from only me, you can't participate in the social solidarity. Meaning you won't want to wear a mask. You'll get tired of it, or you'll think, oh, I'm safe, perceived safety, I call it. You'll go to a restaurant where they're not really doing 6 feet apart, but you think, oh, it'll be okay, you'll go to the beach and just, I don't have to wear a mask, I'm at the beach, all that kind of stuff will go on. And so here's again some things that'll help you maybe become more conscious about how you are blocked to really being able to consider all of us. So number 1, to whom do I most compare myself and why? Number 2, who do I believe I'm better than and why? Number 3, who do I believe is better than me and why? And lastly, I'd like you, before you take a bite of your dinner, to pause and consider all the people and all the hands that have contributed to that meal being before you. And I asked you to say a prayer or to send out love for their continued well-being. Because that food in front of you, yeah, it'd take a whole bunch of people for you to have a meal. Yeah, at this time in this country. Now, if you want to farm someplace, you probably ain't even got wired up to be listening to my broadcast or anything like that. So I ain't talking about you, but I'm talking about everybody else. Yeah, all the people and all the hands responsible for that food being before you. Yeah. Now, this personal challenge will be listed in the box below the video. I will post it on my Wisdom Walk radio page for those of you who are just listening into the radio. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my Wisdom Walk to Self-Mastery YouTube channel. Hit the bell for all postings, and I thank you very much. Whew. I've gone a little over, but that's how it is sometimes, especially with this topic. It's like pretty important, pretty big. But I am going to close with, of course, a shout out and a great thank you to my wonderful engineers at Black Hole Radio and Be Well family. To Miss Yvette Parker, thank you, Yvette, for, again, keeping the fires burning while I was on hiatus so that I could come back and continue to do this important work. I want to shout out to all my regular listeners out there, especially my number one fan, Miss Sarah, who is one of the most considerate persons I have ever met in my entire life. Yeah, she's amazing. To all of those who have wisdom walk with me, and you know who you are, to my family, my spiritual kin, my transformational leadership colleagues, and my medicine brothers and sisters all around the world, like Asu and Ina, and those who may be listening or watching for the first time. Thank you. I couldn't do this without your listenership, your watching, your viewing, and your support. Next week, I'll continue the theme of intentional adaptation by talking about dominating to collaborating. Yes. The book, Wisdom Walk to Self-Mastery, Ancient Wisdom for Transforming Pain, available at I think it's still available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and other online booksellers, including Kindle. And I am working on an audio version of the book for Audible. And last but not least, I want to thank my God, my ancestors, my spirit guides, loving entities, everything that walks with me, keeps my head to the sky, my feet to the ground, and my heart open to do this important work with and for all of you. Have a healthy and safe fire week. Now, continue to wear your mask. Practice social distancing and safe relating. Avoid perceived safety situations and embrace science safety. And do remember, most importantly, you are not disposable. You are divine. Good night now.